Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to this is Ebube Official, your African entrepreneurship channel on business. So whether you're running a small scale, large scale, or you're evolving as a company, so this is where you get fresh insights, powerful thoughts, and well laid out knowledge for you to run your day to day thriving business. So, welcome again to our what we call our Faith in Business series, just conversations as regards business from a faith perspective. So the last video we spoke about was on is business spiritual. That's the name of the title, and that's the name of it. So is business spiritual. We spoke about whether business is spiritual or not, with evidences from the Bible. So I left out something from the last video, and you need to go back and see that video is very enriching and to super help you as a business owner. So just to something I left from the last video was the law of first mention. So what that means is that there are certain principles, scriptural principles that give you a strong foundation for understanding the Bible, God's word. So one of those is called the law of first mention. What that means is that wherever a word is mentioned first, that gives you an idea and a very good perspective of what that word means or the context of that word. Do you get? So wherever you see a word first in this Bible, it gives you a good perspective of the original intent of what that word means, so that it helps you to broadens your understanding. So I want to just give you that understanding of that. That's why we went back to Genesis to understand where the concept of work was first mentioned. Okay, so for today's focus, we'll be looking at an interesting topic that is super important to you as an entrepreneur. So you are running your business day to day. You have your team members, you have your staffs. So you want to, like I called it last week. I called it the last video, an abstract culture, a foundational routine for your business. So we'll be looking at a foundational routine which is called justice. We'll be talking about justice and why justice is super important for you as a business owner, what justice means, how does it play out, and how you can also implement it in your own thriving business. So let's look at the God's word, Matthew 20. So you can open to me, whether your iPad, your phones, your physical Bible. Let's go to Matthew 20. So I'm looking at it here. Let me just read from here. It says, Matthew 20 says, for the kingdom of heaven is like for the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is an householder or a landowner, which went out early in the morning to hire laborers into his vineyard. Okay, and when he had agreed with laborers for a penny a day, he sent them into his vineyard. And when he had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, so there was an agreement, okay, and there was a wage which was a penny for them. He sent them into his vineyard. And when he had went about the third hour and saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and said unto them, Go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right, know that word again, whatsoever is right, I would give you. And they went their way. Matthew 20, verse 5, it says, And again he went about the sixth and ninth hour and did likewise. And about the 11th hour, so four hours, he went out and found others standing idle, and said unto them, Why stand ye here all the day idle? They say unto him, Because no man had hired us. He said unto them, Go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right, that shall ye receive. So when even was come, the Lord of the vineyard sent unto his stewards, call laborers, and give them their hire, beginning from the last unto the first. And verse 9, and when they came that were hired about the 11th hour, they received every man a penny. Okay, so what does the story mean? So this is a parable, and Jesus was speaking about a story here, which is very important. So there was a man that had a land, he had a vineyard, more like an agricultural piece of land. So the idea was he wanted people to go and work on the land, or in our context, work on his farm. So they had laborers, and the laborers were four categories based on their timing. So it's more like in our term, you would say they more like they had work shifts. So there were four work shifts, this guy had. They were the third hours, which is the 9 a.m. workers. There were the we had the sixth hour, we had the ninth hour. So the sixth hour was about 12 a.m., 12 noon, sorry. Then we had 3 p.m. workers, which were the ninth hours, and then we had 11th hours workers, which were 5 p.m. So we had four categories: 9 a.m., 12 noon, 3 p.m., and 5 p.m. And so he agreed with them that, see, guys, this is what I'm going to pay for you. Please go into my vineyard. You are not to be idle in the marketplace. Again, it's very important. You are not to be idle in the marketplace. As people, as talking about ourselves, we are not to be idle as individuals. Idleness is not part of the marketplace. Idleness is a red flag for every person. If you're not working in the marketplace, then there's something wrong. Everyone should be busy working with your hands, that which is good. Okay, so work is, like I said, work is spiritual and super important. It's the nature of God that we should work. Okay, so we spoke about it and said, okay, guys, I'm going to give you your own penny. And he agreed with them that, see, everyone will be paid a penny a day once you're through with your work shift. And we see in other translations, the idea was that you were to work from 9 a.m. Down to the close of work was about 6 p.m. 6 p.m. was the close of work. So everyone, he made them at different timing. Oh, go and work in my farm, go and work in my farm, go and work in my farm at different timing. And so after they had all worked on the farm, it was time for them to now get their reward, to now get their pay. All right. And so we now see something interesting as regards the pay that came here. So let me read the NLT version. Its NLT gives more sense of clarity. So NLT says, when those hired, verse 10, when those hired first came to get their pay, they assumed, okay, let's go to verse 9. When those hired at 5 o'clock were paid, each received a full day's wage. A full day's wage. When those hired first came to get their pay, they assumed they would receive more. That's the 9 a.m. and the 12 p.m. worker. But they too were paid a day's wage. Okay, hold up. So 9 a.m. workers, 5 p.m. workers, they received the same wage. More like, let's say the pay was 2,000 naira, or maybe or more. So 9 a.m. workers, the guys that work from 9 to 6 p.m., about, let's say, about 8 to 9 hours, they receive the same pay as the same guys that worked from 5 to 6 p.m., the same guy that worked for maybe about an hour. So they receive the same pay. So when they received their pay, they protested to the owner, saying, those people worked only 1 hour, and yet you have paid them just as much as you paid us who worked all day in the scorching heat. Now, you can look and say that, all right, yeah, you guys could complain about that, because, like, seriously, why we used to be paid the same work as the same way as these guys that came by 5? But let's look at what the owner said. He said, he answered one of them and said, friend, I haven't been unfair. Didn't you agree to work all day for the usual wage? Didn't you agree to work all day for the usual wage? So you see here, and you know we spoke about this in the beginning, that when they had agreed, so there was an agreement, okay? So not minding the other parties that the owner brought into his vineyard, people that were originally employed already had an agreement. So what this tells us is that productive labor means that you mind your own business. So you don't have to compare your wages with other people in the marketplace. There is no need for comparison. If you are charging your clients, let's say $1,000, and somebody else is charging his clients, let's say $10,000, it's not your business. You are not to complain, because the sense of justice, one of the requirements of justice is that there is an agreement that has been laid by both parties. So, for example, let's say you have an agreement with your partner that, maybe we'll have a 15% agreement, you take 15%, I'll take the rest because I'm bringing in more and all that. If the partner agrees to that agreement, that has been settled. So if somebody comes and say, oh, this is unfair, there has been an agreement already. So one thing that establishes justice is the agreement that you have beforehand. So if the agreement is not stated clearly beforehand, then somebody goes behind and does something, and that person can be termed unjust. But when there's an agreement, then that settles it. So let's look at that. So it says, verse 14, it says, no, verse 13 says, he answered and said unto them, friend, I haven't been unfair. Didn't you agree to work all the day for the usual wage? Take your money and go. I wanted to pay this last worker the same as you. Is it against the law for me to do what I want with my money? Should you be jealous because I am kind to others? So we see here that, like I said before, that the man had an agreement with them, and this was what they agreed. So their protests, their shouts, even though it may have looked valid to an outside observer, but when it came to the agreement, when it came to the boundaries that they already had, they agreed that Chief Oga, we will take this penny and we'll go to work and we'll produce as we ought to. Do you get? So it's important that you have that justice, for you to be just, whether with your partners, contractors, your workforce, your staffs, whoever you are working with, please have an agreement. And secondly, that agreement should be rooted in a good conscience. All right. So I'm not saying that, because some people can say, "Oh, I'll do an agreement," and then the conscience of that individual is seared, or that person's conscience is dead. If you look at this, if you look at this is something here, it says in verse 15, it says, is it against, that's the NLT? Is it against the law that for me to do what I want with my money? Should you be jealous because I am kind to others? So when we are saying agreements, your conscience should also be rooted in moral values, in values of kindness, in values of compassion. So those are things that should be done, and that's why you see, that's why you see things like pension, health benefits. Those things came out from a place of kindness, rooted in justice. That we wanted we want people to be treated fairly, and people to have good sense of compensation for their work. So what I'm saying, so so for justice, there should be an agreement, but also it should be rooted in moral values. Okay, so when you are setting up whatever you want with your team members, or there should be a sense of kindness and compassion that should overrule whatever agreement you want to have with your team, whether internal or external. So I hope this helps you. So again, just some key points. Justice is rooted in agreements between parties, and that secondly, that agreement should be based on a good conscience, rooted in moral values of kindness, honesty, and other good values that also help humanity gain momentum and help your team members and also people that are associated with you. So I hope this helps you. If this helps you, please share this video to as many people as possible. Subscribe to our channel. I'm Ebube Official. You can also comment if you have questions. If you have anything you want us to also talk about in our upcoming videos, please put in your comments, and I hope this super helps you. Cheers. Peace out.